Okay. All right. So let's start this over. Like I said, my name is Courtney. I am the star director for the Live Love Wax Tribe. And I have actually been with Scentsy I started in 2017 in May. So it's definitely kept me busy. It's more of my stress reliever. Those of you that don't know me, I work with the police department, and I used to do CSI, but now I am specialized in firearms. I do all ballistics related stuff when it comes to forensics. So at times it can be kind of stressful, but other times I use Scentsy as my outlet. And then, of course, I love working out. So I take that and fuel my stress that comes from the job to Scentsy and then working out. Like I said, I've been with Scentsy since 2017. I never in my wildest dreams thought that I would be a star director. I never in my wildest dreams thought that I would be making the income that I do make monthly. And it's just something that it's continuously showed me that it is possible. And as long as you work at it and you're consistent with it, then it continuously builds. So that's something that has been a huge eye opener for me. Because like I said, I never in my wildest dreams thought that I would be doing what I do with Scentsy just by slinging some wax, like just by engaging with customers and getting them smell goods or offering them the join special. Like, you don't really realize it until you kind of put it into perspective, and then you realize you go from like a group of, you start out with 2 people, and then now you're almost at 100 as far as your team, and then how fast your group grows with, you just start with 1 person, and then here you are 5 years later, or 3 years later, however long you've been in the journey. You could have up to 1,000 people in your group. Like, it spreads like wildfire, and to see the numbers over the years is truly, truly eye-opening, and it lights that fire because you're like, oh wow, this is attainable. Like, you can actually do this. So with that being said, let's see what else. That's basically like that's me in a nutshell. All right, Des, you chat.
Okay. I'm Desiree Knopfsinger. I've been with Scentsy since November 2017. A couple of you on here already know like my story. I started when things got tough with my soon-to-be ex-husband, and things did not get any better, but Scentsy was that blessing that I needed to make ends meet where it was getting really tight. I kept it up because like Courtney said, I didn't know where it was going to take me. I just knew that I needed the extra income. I had bought Scentsy before, but my person had never followed up with me. I always wanted to host a party, but no one ever asked me, and I never reached out to anybody. So I ended up buying a bunch of product, and then it came to the point where be honest, I just wasn't really like taking it very serious. I was just like, hey, I got my numbers in, I'm good to go. But then I was like, this cannot be all that's it. I need to make money, and I need to figure it out. So I had listened to one of Chastity's YouTubes that she had on her team page, and I was like, okay, this is it, I'm gonna do it. And then within that month I promoted to lead, and then and just like Courtney said, it spread like wildfire. It went for a minute when I had a little bit of people on my team, and then here I am, I'm at over 150 people in my group, and I never thought it would be as high as it went. One thing I love about Scentsy, and a lot of people have done this, this company is a blessing. Like the paychecks, I never dreamed that I would have a paycheck with a comma in it from Scentsy. I never thought that would be a thing, but it is. And right now, like as a single mom, I'm so grateful for it. But another thing is like the friendships are really crazy. I've gone through a really hard time, and I've had a couple people like really reach out and like that were there for me. Scentsy is so great because just like unlike a job, you can kind of take a step back. I was still, you know, working my business, doing little parties here and there where I could, but I took a step back, but I kept my numbers in. I didn't quit, and I continued going. And now I'm back. I'm back in. I'm full, you know, full throttle. And I just thank a lot of the people that understood like what I was going through. But my Scentsy people like were really there for me, you know, reaching out, staying in contact. And I do like that community that I was able to have with some people. And it really took off for me. And one thing I started realizing was, especially with this join special, it always happens with the join special. We get a lot of new people that, yeah, Vanessa, we get a lot of new people that join, and a lot of things start to fall through the cracks. And I didn't want anybody to feel the way I felt, where I kind of was just like, let me put my numbers in. And, you know, I want people to know the information's out there. You just got to go look for it. And if someone's going to sit here and make these videos, someone's going to end up watching them, and someone is going to click for somebody. And so like, I was really thankful that, you know, Chastity had all those. And the one thing that really helped me was the AIM program. And what we did was you write down where you're at, and I still have it in my notes, saved on my notes, and I update it every couple months. And I'm just like, this is crazy how my my timeline, where I started, my achievements, my front line, and the group. And it is one thing that I've continued to keep up with, and it gives me that little extra motivation, like I am that bitch. But I cuss a lot, so y'all just gonna have to go through it. But that's what I've done. Chastity, if you want to go ahead and say a little thing, that's my sponsor. Whoop, whoop.
Hey y'all. I just kind of like hijacked this training because I saw that Courtney and Des were doing it, and I'm like, hey, can I invite my people? And I wasn't even sure if I was going to be able to get on, but it worked out that I did. If you guys do not know me, I am the Superstar Director for Shine Your Light Group. Desiree is my frontline. And we're at almost 1,900 people. We were at almost 2,000, but then at the end of the month, when some of that dead weight fell off, we're sitting at right at 1,900. And guys, like, everything that they said was so true. Like, I didn't join because I wanted to quit my job. I didn't join thinking that I was going to have replacement income. I even told Chloe Cox is my sponsor. And I even told Chloe, like, I'm not going to be your rock star. I'm not recruiting. I'm buying from myself, so me and my mom can have my stuff shipped to me. I don't have to bother you anymore, blah, blah, blah. And once I was with another direct selling company. And once I realized that that company's compensation plan could never even touch Scentsy's, and once I really realized that like I had no passion for that business, I went all in with Scentsy. And when I went all in with Scentsy, I promoted to director 2 months later. The following year, star director. And then a year and a half after that, superstar director. And so I just want you guys to know what they said about consistency, and they didn't join thinking that like this was going to be their end game or their goal or whatever. Like, I want you guys to realize that that's just so true. But staying consistent, even when you're going through the hard things, and doing, even if it's just one little thing that you can do for your business, and communicating that with people, is so important. I think Vanessa's on here, and I know that I'm not going to put her business out there, but she's had some life-changing things happen recently. And so she needed this, and I needed this, and I didn't know I needed it. And I get really passionate about stuff like this because there are people laying in bed praying for what we have, praying for this opportunity. So just know that there is no limit in what you can achieve with all of this. And knowing the compensation plan and knowing how to promote and how you're getting paid and all of that kind of stuff is something that is so vitally important. Because I mean, at the end of the day, we're working for a paycheck. And you can make one little slip up and not be paid at title, and it making an enormous difference in your pay. And once again, it doesn't just come down to paychecks, but I mean, we have to have money to live, right? So I wasn't even going to like really talk about anything, but I just wanted to let you know who I am. I know I have some of my people on here. I appreciate you guys. I see y'all showing up. And I know that Courtney and Des will do a great job, and they're an open book. So please, and I know that from my personal standpoint and doing trainings and doing things like this, it's really nerve-wracking. It really makes you scared. It makes you question yourself. It makes you wonder if you even know what you're talking about. And engage with them, guys, in the chat or whatever. If they say something that hits with you, repeat it back in the chat or ask questions, because that's how people get their energy, and that's how, like, that's what makes the best trainings for me, at least. And I know that they want you to talk and be engaged too, because they're not here for themselves. They're here for you guys. I'm off my soapbox.
Okay, so and kind of to segue with that too, I'm gonna be 100% transparent with you guys, because like we said earlier, this is training to talk about promotions, and then also just to show you guys that it is very possible to leave money on the table. So that is something that I know that I reached out to Chastity, and I told Des this last month, getting the email saying that, it's payday was a huge, 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 huge gut check for me, because I'll get into it in a little bit once we start talking about the whole promotions or paid at title. But I have made a promise to myself that I will never let that happen again, because that's something that, one, it messes with my livelihood, because I do use Scentsy income as, one, it pays my car. It helps for the house bills around here, which, so I promoted to Star Director May of last year. So May of this year would have been my 1 year marker as SD. Now, keep in mind, I joined in 2017, so it took me a little bit to get up there. So it wasn't like this happened super, super fast. Like, consistency paid off for me, continuously sharing in the stories of Instagram, through Facebook, through TikTok, all those different platforms, and just networking and bringing up Scentsy daily in my conversations, and continued like having it at work. So that way people can smell it down the hallway and they're like, oh, Courtney's somewhere close because she's done changed her wax, like stuff like that. Like, it's just the simple comments that come out of people's mouths or if they come in the house, they're like, oh my gosh, this house smells so clean. And I don't have to say anything, because the people that are there, they're like, she does Scentsy, right? Like, it's just something that I have ingrained into my life, and I've made it my lifestyle of, one, I continuously change the stuff in the car, and I let people see how I use Scentsy. If you're not your own best customer, then I don't know what you're doing with your life, because it's not going to help you be successful. So I'm going to go ahead and segue into the topic of promotions. And I took a few notes. I don't want to make this like too long. Like, once people get into like the 30 to 45 minutes, I feel like we kind of start losing people's attention. So I like trainings to be kind of short and sweet and to the point. And if it goes over, then so be it. Like I said, I have it recording, so I'll make sure to upload it to YouTube and then give the ladies the link, so that way it can get shared for whoever needs to see it. So promotions, first thing first, you have to know what you need each month to get paid at title. And I'm not talking about what you need, like what you need personally, but your numbers. So it's not just about sharing on social media and engaging with your customers. It's more of, where are your numbers coming from? So first of all, obviously you got to take care of your PRV. And what I like to do is, if I don't have my 500 by the 5th of the month, I am not okay with life. Because one, I want to make sure that my numbers are in and I'm not having to worry about my PRV. So, and I've never been a person that has strong PRV. I get my 500 to 1500, like it just kind of depends, but always have my 500 by the 5th of the month. So that's something that I made a promise to myself too, that I was going to continue to do, because I want to make sure that I'm not scrounging by the end of the month of where my PRV is coming from. Chastity said front load your calendar, which 100%. I've taken like a transition of Cincy Club, and I've taken that to my advantage of making sure that I know for a fact that there's at least 10 people that are subscribed to my Cincy Club it's coming out each month. So I make sure that my Cincy Club's taken care of. And that way I know that I'm at least going to have a buffer of 200, if not more, each month. So that way I don't have to scrounge at the last minute to figure out where my PRV is coming from. And I know I'm going to have 500, and I know I'm going to hit my leader numbers, like we say, for the 500. And I kind of want to shift the mindset of, we focus on, oh, you only have to have 200 to be active. If you're wanting to grow and you're wanting to be a leader, you need to bump that 200 to 500. So that needs to be your bare minimum that you're putting in each month. So, and maybe it's not by the 5th of the month, maybe it's by the 10th or the 15th of the month. Just make sure you're shooting for the 500 and not just the 200. So for me, I just gave my example of SD. I have to have 500 PRV. I've got to have the 6,000 TWV and then the 30,000 GWV. I'm not going to go into all the detail of the compensation plan, because one, I think that that's something that y'all need to know yourself. And if you don't know it, then I highly recommend looking at it. So like I said, leaders, if you're not already reaching for 500 by the 5th of the month, start now. Not being paid at title means you are leaving money on the table, like I said earlier. My gut check that happened this week, like I said, May of this year would have been my year anniversary of being paid at title as a SD. A full year, no issues, no nothing. So and that this is on me 100%. And this is why I am a walking testament to let you guys know that if you're not paying attention to your numbers, things can slip through the cracks really, really fast. So I was over 1,000 PRV. I had my 500 in by the 5th of the month. I was okay. My GWV is never an issue with my GWV. So those of you that know that once you have a director under you, your TWV, it's different than your GWV. So let's see, I think I had like 5 days before June. So I'm sitting there, okay, looking at numbers, making sure like we're all on track. And I'm like, holy shit, like my TWV, like we're slacking just a little bit. So once 2 days, I think, before June, I was like, okay, like we're kind of like slowly, getting up there. And I finally, I was like, screw it, I'm going to put in an order, because I'm not trying to, I had orders to go in, and I was like, okay, instead of closing them on the 1st, I'm going to go ahead and close them now. So I ended up closing them. And then, I ended up closing them. It had a processing order, like an issue. So there was for whatever reason, the order would not fully process because there was an overage for like a balance of $5. And it wasn't with the host rewards or anything. It was due to one of the like washer whiffs going out of stock, whatever. The order didn't get processed. I was 82 TWV away from being paid at title. 82 TWV being away from paid at title. And it literally crushed me. And I was like, I had no idea what to do, because I wasn't going to go place an order on my website because I had a party to close out. So the processing issue, whatever. So then I was like, okay, it is what it is. I didn't really think anything about it because I was like, I didn't get in this business to stress about my numbers. And that was something that I've held true to myself from day one. My biggest pet peeve for myself, and I've had leaders kind of not express the number significance, but it's been pertinent to me when someone is like, hey, are your numbers in? Like, I don't do that. So my business is very non-number oriented. I rather a person be encouraged or have that support system instead of like, hey, are your numbers in? Like, you're not just a number to me, you're a person on this team, and I want you to gather, like, support the light. I want you to have the light that everybody else gets whenever they feel like when they're getting an order to close out or something like that. Like, I don't know if I'm explaining that correctly, but you get that sense of like hey, I belong here, I know I'm doing the right thing. Like, those types of feelings is what I want people to feel, instead of like, oh, she just wants to make sure she gets paid a title, she just gets numbers. Like, I don't ever like focusing on numbers, and that's my biggest pet peeve. So I was like, all right, we're not going to worry about it. And then we get the email whenever we got it, the 8th. What's today? 10th. So it literally, guys, and I'm not even kidding you, it was a $2,500 difference from what I normally get paid as a SD to then getting paid as a director. So I just want you guys to know that it is a huge jump if you're not paid a title. And that's why we stress being paid a title is so important, because if you're not, then you're leaving money on the table. So besides all that, I already said being paid a title, you're leaving money on the table. If you do not have the correct active frontline. So that's something that you as a leader need to make sure that that is squared away and you have the correct active frontline, so that way you know that you're going to be paid a title. It all boils down to knowing the comp plan. Like I said earlier, your GWV and your TWV as a director, these are like, if you don't have a director under you, then these are the same. However, it starts to play off once that director branches off into their own team. Something I found that it should be a given, but I don't know if a lot of people know this. Your projected rank versus your projected title. Obviously, your title is what you currently are, and then your projected title is what your title is going to be at the end of the month. If you do not promote or go into the projected rank, it's what you are projected to be paid as. This is also where you see if you will promote. So if you have your projected rank is a director by the end of this month. So just keep that in mind of your projected title, your projected rank, and then I gave you guys an example down here. I had to write it out so that way I didn't confuse myself while I'm telling you guys. So also, wait a second. No, this is for the 10th of the month. So make sure also that your promotions that come into play, some people freak out because on the 1st of the month, they're like, I promoted a certified or I promoted to lead. This is something that happens on the 10th of the month when they run the promotions. So obviously if you promoted a certified, then that's not going to show on the workstation until the 10th of the month. Let's see here. I kind of like skipped all over the place in my notes. Let's see, make sure I'm not missing anything, and then Des, I'm gonna let you bounce. Like, take it over. All right, yeah, I think I took everything that I had on my notes. Did any of that, like, y'all have any questions with any of that, or we're all tracking on the same thing? Yay, nay. All right, Des, I'm gonna let you take it away.
All right. Okay, so I switched to this iPad because I figured it would probably be better for me as being able to read my notes. But you did a really good job.
I feel like I scrambled so much, so sorry.
You did good. Very good information. Yeah, I agree. Okay, so for my teenies, and you guys probably already have this, but it's very much like what Chastity has. On my team page, I have an album and it's for new consultants. And it has a bunch of little tips in there. And I encourage everybody, once they join, I have a list on my team page of step by step of what you need to do when you add a new teamie. And sponsors, if you have somebody who's joining underneath you, or you know your front line has someone joining under them, you want to build strong leaders. You don't want to just make sure your front line is good to go and that's it. You want to make sure your front line is just as strong, because just like Courtney was saying, I did not expect to go all the way to star director. When I first started, it wasn't my goal. My goal was, let me get that paycheck so I can, help my family and pay these bills. And then it started to really like take off. And then I started to understand the compensation plan, how you promote, and building your people to be just as strong as you are, so that way they're able to build their teams. And on my list, it has, with the step-by-step of what you need to do, I tag people that I sponsor. And then if I know, Jessica, I see you're on here, so, and Vanessa, Jessica is my front line, Vanessa is underneath Jessica. If I knew that Vanessa was going to be joining under Jessica, I would tag Jessica again on the list and say, hey, tag your person on this list. And on the list, it says things like explain the pay portal, explain chain of command, explain, and it's all of the simple basics, but basics builds a strong foundation. And I feel like we're getting away from that. I feel like a lot of people were like, hey, get in, make sure you have 200, make sure you get 500. This is what the LTOs, limited time offers, for anybody who is brand new, doesn't know the Scentsy Talk yet. And I feel like it's all really exciting, especially with Disney. I know it's all exciting, but first off, before we start running, make sure you guys, crawl a little bit so you guys understand what you need to do, so that way your paychecks looks the way you want it to look. So I tell everybody, your minimum is 500. I automatically have people come in and I tell them your minimum is 500. Yes, you have that 200. If you're having a bad month, make sure at least that's in there, but your goal at the end of every month is 500. That's your minimum, because you're leaving money on the table, period, no matter with what it is. With every single title that you have to at least have 500 in order to even get your little goodies from the rest of your team. So just already have that mindset of having 500 PRV every month. Just like Courtney was saying, you don't want to have to struggle at Okay. You don't have to like struggle and figure out where your PRV is coming from. You want to already be like, okay, by this date, I want to have this much. And Lord knows that I've been on the struggle bus lately, but I'm like, I look at my PRV daily of what I have in that party, and I know, okay, I got it. It may not say it on my circle when I sign in and it hurts my heart, but I know it's in my party and I know I have it. So that's one thing everybody needs to make sure that your newbies know about. Like it's so important, because I see so many people that are missing it, who are ending the month at 493, 497, and it kills me, because I'm like, oh, you missed it by like place an order for some scent circles or something, some light bulbs, because you're missing it by that much. And I'm never the person to be like, well, let me place my own orders so I can get my PRV. I'm not that person. Everybody on my team knows I don't have a crazy amount of stock. Every stock I have comes from my Scentsy Club, from the items that I really, really like, or my host rewards. I don't sit here and I'm like, I'm gonna go buy Laundry Love bundles so that way I get I'm not that person. I don't have money like that. Okay. So make sure that y'all are understanding like that 500 is so important, and there's so many people that are missing promotions. And that's what I wanted to talk about. There's a lot of people that sponsored a lot and didn't hit their 500, or their newbies didn't even hit 200. So when you sign in on your workstation, it'll show you your active frontline. Everybody knows AFL, active frontline, they have to have a minimum of 200. That counts. That's what you want to count. And one thing I love about my team is they will shout their people out. Hey, so-and-so's active. Hey, someone's over goal PRV, which is 500. They'll shout them out for, getting there. And I love that they do that. It's very encouraging. But when you sign in, when you see that active frontline, for all you newbies that sponsored and you guys are taking that leadership role, you need to make sure that they understand that, they have to get active, not just for yourself, but for them too. Because what's the point in us joining and then not getting the paycheck that we really want? A lot of people join for the discount. I get it. You're going to have that conversation with that person. You're going to know what kind of consultant they're going to be. But hey, you need to share this information, because you don't ever really know what anybody's situation is really like. But with that, there is in the albums for new consultants, we have, and I think it was shared in Shine Your Light Leader page, anchored in about Promotions 101. And it's very simple: lead, star, superstar, personal PRV, 500 for all of them. All of them say you need 500. And then it says your active frontline, which is those people that have the 200. To promote to lead, if you just sponsored somebody, that person needs to be active. You have to have over 500 PRV. I'm going to explain a little bit more. You have to have 500 PRV, and that person has to be active. So what your GWV, so Courtney was speaking earlier, you have your PRV, your personal retail volume, your your TWV, team, and then your G, your group. And when you hit director, you'll see that that's going to change. Your team is everybody that's underneath you, and then your group is if I explain this correctly, your group is even in your directors who go underneath you, they count underneath your group. And your team is everyone that's in your frontline and lower that haven't hit director. They're in your team. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what I said. Okay. And then but it will show you in this Promotions 101, and if you guys need it, I'll put it in Courtney's team page, and I'll put it back on ours, or even in Shine Your Light. I know it's in Shine Your Light. It explains the amount of PRV that you have to hit that GWV to promote, and everybody's missing that. So you can watch your numbers. And I know, like, whenever I was doing it, it was a learning experience for me. And when Elizabeth promoted, me and her were watching her GWV, because we were like, how come she didn't get it? So sorry, my boyfriend's calling me. But you have to understand, like, for each promotion, it's not just like one front line. You need to have, for a couple of them, you need 2, 3. If you have not seen this Promotions 101, this is something very important that you need to look at. And like I said, we don't have to be on here. We're very lucky and blessed, let me tell you, to have leaders like Courtney and Chloe who actually go out of their way to make sure they ingrain it in your brain to understand on how to be a great consultant, because this information's out there, and it is not our job to have to get everybody on here and be like, this is what you need to do. Sit down. Let me train you. That's not really your job. We're just nice enough to do it because hey, like me, I've been there. I don't want you struggling or wondering what the hell's going on. So that's one thing I wanted y'all, because I had a couple people asking me, how come I didn't hit my promotion? Courtney said it, it doesn't update until the 10th of the following month when we get paid. But that Promotions 101, that should be something that you should be sending your new teamies when they join. And it's this very simple little thing. Another thing that I have, as far as making sure you have that 500, but when you are adding these new teamies, like, there is a post on here that Chastity had made when I had joined in 2017. It was brand new when it was up there. Just little simple things on something you do yourself. That doesn't mean you sit down with your new person underneath you and walk them through every single stage. I did that with some of my people because my front line was small. But as you see, when it starts to pick up, I had someone sponsor 5 new people. And she was like, how am I supposed to do this? I can't sit down with every single one and show them how to do this. Hold on, homie, because I had already put it on there, a new consultant checklist, and it's talking directly to the new consultant on exactly what to do. With the basic, yeah, you need a system. With basics like learn how to navigate your workstation, read your startup guide. I mean, it's very simple little things on, hey, this is what you need to do. Whenever we have these huge join specials, we'll have a lot of people join, and then we'll have a lot of people fall off in a couple months. And don't let that hurt you, or don't let that discourage you. And make sure you tell your people who are brand new, as who didn't experience the special last year, but it's gonna hurt a little bit when you see the number drop. But the people that stay on, those people really need it, or they've experienced the blessing, the paycheck, or some kind of community that they've gained from being a Scentsy consultant. So I know this all sounds very basic, but looking at the past numbers, I really felt like it was something that I needed to re-up on my team. Like, hey guys, we're doing great. I'm so proud of y'all for getting your frontline and growing your teams. But remember that foundation, because that foundation is really going to make strong leaders. And that strong leader one day is going to be sitting up here with you, just like I'm sitting here with Chastity. Like, hey, you need that system, build that foundation, and understand that compensation plan, because honey, that paycheck is real. That paycheck is real. I cannot tell you enough. That paycheck is real. All right, that's enough of what I'm gonna say. Now, does anybody else have any questions? Like this is, hey, I'm a new leader. I have some questions on what I need to do to make my front line strong. Or this is, hey, I'm a new consultant. I have a question about what does this mean? Open it up. We're not gonna throw rocks at you, I promise. Or you're an experienced leader and you have a question, anything. So all of these resources are available. It's on Shine Your Light. Courtney has her own system. I have a system that is is almost exactly what Chastity has. My new consultant thing is something that I had made on my own, because it was getting harder. When my team started to pick up, it was getting really hard to, hey, did you send this to your new teamie? Hey, did you, I didn't want to have to be that one. I want to be like, hey, you got your new teamie, you know what to do, go look at that list. So if you guys need example of what I have in my list, go ahead, ask me, I'll be able to send it to you.
So my biggest advice for you guys that are new leaders and up and coming leaders and wanting to promote and wanting to grow this like as a significant business is to be consistent in whatever it is you decide to do. And if it doesn't make you money, stop doing it. And I know that sounds really ugly, but there are so many people who say that they don't have time or that they can't do it, but it's because they're working on a bunch of shit that doesn't matter. And I built this business with 2 kids, teaching, staying at school till 5 o'clock, still having work to do when I came home, 2 kids and a husband that was never home because of the unit that he was working in. And because I was only doing the things that mattered. If I only had 30 minutes, I didn't worry about anything else but income producing activities. Y'all know what income producing activities are. Also, as a leader, is do not forget that your time is valuable. So 80% still needs to be on your own personal business and not giving everything to your team, because I see that mistake with a lot of leaders is that they focus too much on all of the people in their downline, and that is super important, and we are here to help them. But at the end of the day, if you stop working your personal business, you're not going to be able to sponsor. You're not going to have any new customers. You're going to be burnt out because people are going to take and take and take, and you're not going to have anywhere to like pull from. The one thing that I really love so much about Cincy and about our compensation plan is that everybody starts over as a certified consultant at the beginning of every month. And you have to earn your way back to your title, like what Courtney was saying. So if you choose to not work, you're not going to get paid. Just because I'm a superstar director doesn't mean that I get to sit back and do whatever the hell I want. I still have to sponsor. I still have to sell. I still need to get new customers. I still have to party. I still have to do all of those things, or I'm not going to be paid at that level. And there's lots of other companies who that's not the case. You can get to the top and just kind of chill. And I think that that's super, super important for you guys to realize that you don't stop. And that's when I say consistency is super important, because you don't want to go so hard that you want to quit. But if you can do something at a consistent leveled basis, that's going to make everybody's life easier. And your number one job as a leader is to make your team want your job. So, and the last thing I'll say is like what Desiree was saying about how like as your team grows, and like she couldn't do that for everybody because like one person had sponsored 5 people. If it's not duplicatable, don't do it. Meaning if you can't do it for the one new team member that you have right now, the same way that you can do it for 100, then don't do it. Because eventually, if you do want to grow this business, there's going to come a point where you can't do that. I physically cannot train 1,900 people myself. That is why people have to take on their own leadership roles. That is why I don't send Christmas gifts. That is why I don't do crazy $20 giveaways and stuff, because you can't sustain that. And you don't want anybody to ever be able to come back and say, well, you did for her and blah, blah, blah. And I'm not like, I mean, that's the world we live in. And you're only one person. Those, like what I said in the chat about setting up a system and making sure that you're making your leaders be accountable. You can't be everything to everyone and take care of you and your team and your family and everything else. So you guys did a really, really great job on all of that. I just wanted to share a couple little tidbits.
All right, y'all. Questions, even little silly things. I hope everybody had a good day when it came to the big summer sale. I hope you were able to get your goodies. I was able to get everything that I wanted. I love that queue system that we have now. It makes it so easy. Vanessa, I got you. Ashley, I got you.
For the red ribbon. Finishing in third is 320, 320. Here's Lightning.
Don't be afraid.
That's
We're some of the most approachable people we have. I may have RBF, but that's just my face. So
Finishing fourth, entry 107 is
the only other thing that I will add in is like what they were saying about not being paid at title or like knowing your numbers. There are some people that track their numbers every single day, like to hold themselves accountable. I am not. Y'all mute. Who is that? That's like,
I don't know. Someone's really loud.
oh,
I think
There we go.
okay. I lost my train of thought. What was I saying? About knowing your numbers. I'm not one of those people that tracks my numbers every single day. It's just not my thing. But what I've found is to like check my numbers on the 1st, the 5th, the 15th, like the night of, and then like around the 20th and then the end of the month. And you can kind of look at trends. And that way you kind of know where you stand. You don't have to do that, but that is something that I've started doing here recently, just so I can kind of track like where I'm gonna end up, just because my numbers change a lot. As your group grows, your numbers will change more often. Like they were saying about TWV and active frontline, you don't ever want to be in a situation where you are waiting on someone to get active for you to get paid at title. And I've seen that happen quite a few times. And you can't control other people. And statistically, Home Office has even said this, you can count on about 50% of your total frontline to be active each month. So if you only have 3 frontline, you can't expect all 3 of those people to be active every single month. Now you may get lucky and you may have 3 people that join you that are ready to go and hit the ground running, but not everybody's like that. And if I go back and I look at my total frontline versus active, that number is almost always right on par. It goes up like when we have a flash sale or in the fall when everybody's buying Christmas gifts. But for the most part, that's what I would count on. So if you are trying to promote, you are wanting to grow, your front line is going to be the way to do it. You can never stop growing your front line, and that is going to be a big difference in your paycheck, is your TWV from your front line. So continue to grow that.
And I think the biggest thing too is when I don't know what training this was, but it was I don't know if it was Guide to Growth or something. For if you're planning on director, they were talking about a minimum of 10 active frontline, just so that way you kind of have like there's a little bit of cushion, but you always want to make sure that there's at least a minimum of 10 active frontline. So that way you're not having to scrounge at the last minute of, oh, am I really going to be paid a title? Do I have enough active frontline? Just so that way you can, like I said, have that little buffer.
Yes, and that's actually how I started coaching. There's some of my directors that have reached out recently and they're talking about wanting to build directors. And I'm like, that's what they need to shoot for, because there's been tons of people that have accidentally promoted because of a big month or whatever, and then they're not getting paid at title and they're frustrated. The answer to pretty much any issue that you're having in Cincy is a sponsor, and to train them appropriately if you want to grow it. And exactly what Courtney said, that's exactly what I suggest for directors up and coming, a minimum of 10. Obviously, if you hit it and you don't have 10, there's nothing you can do about it. You can't hold it back, but always keep that in the back of your mind. And once you reach that, don't settle, because that active frontline, y'all, if you want to be a director, that active frontline is going to make a significant difference in your paycheck. And if you're a new leader, you're not going to see that right away on your paycheck, which I know I didn't. And that was sort of like frustrating for me when I decided to go all in. And I'm like, well, I'm getting more active frontline, but it's like a few dollars here and there. I can promise you, if you stay consistent and that's what you continue to keep doing, and you build leaders and you build directors, that number will grow to a number you never thought possible. But you have to stick with it in the long haul. And there are so many people that are on the edge of success that give up because they feel like they've been doing it for too long and aren't where they want to be. Well, you can go work at the police department for 30 years and retire. Same thing with me as teaching. I walked away. And because I know that at least with what I'm doing now, my hard work can be directly reflected in a paycheck. And I know we're going back and talking about money, but at the end of the day, money is a big motivator for people. And my people know I'm not doing it for the money. I'm not here to just make money off of people. I want other people to have every opportunity that they could ever imagine. So I'm done. Sorry.
Well, I think once you realize what this business offers, I think you don't, it's not necessarily a money hungry, but it's a money hungry when you realize what you actually can make in this business. So it's not, I don't want you guys to think like, yeah, they're talking about money, but until you make those $5,000 paychecks every single month, you're like, oh yeah, this is totally attainable. And so, and like that's my goal. So I have my little goals up here above my computer that I have to see every single day. And I do that on purpose because I want to make those $10,000 paychecks a month. Like that's my end all be all goal. It's not the end all, but I want my next attainable goal is a 10,000 a month. And then of course I'm going to up it from there because I know what the potential is in this business. And so once I go from there, I want to be able to make it so I'm paying the house payment a month and then my husband's paying the house payment a month. So we're paying double a month of the house payment. So that way we can get it down. I have a side by side because that's just something that I want. So it's one of those things where who was it? Was it Jessica? No, Anderson? Jennifer. Was she the one that just bought a car out of cash? Like stuff like that is like, holy cow. Like she did it. And so it's kind of one of those things of, like I was saying earlier, I never thought I would be where I am in this business today. Like I was like, oh, I'm just going to start this. Like at the time when I ended up signing up for Scentsy, I was in a absolutely terrible relationship. I needed to keep my mind busy because it was something of, we had just like, we were on the outs. I went to a home party and all I wanted was a car bar. Like it was a Luna car bar. Oh, that's all it was. And I was like, I don't want the wax. And I remember saying, putting your wax, like putting the little, because I bought the like little Walmart warmers, just put that in the freezer, let it freeze, and then take a butter knife out. And she looked at me like I was freaking crazy because she's like, no, just put a cotton ball in there and you can take it out. So it's just little stuff like that where I literally went to one home party and I met great people at that home party that I'm still in touch with today. And it's something that I was able to get my confidence back that had been stripped away from me because the mental abuse, like that's a real thing, especially like when you're with a narcissistic person, because you don't realize how much they take out of you. And so I didn't realize that until after the fact. Yes, I still have the baggage that previous relationship gave me, but at the same time, it's one of those of like, I know I came out better than where I was at. And why did I not listen to the red flags that I had at the beginning? You live and learn. It was one of those things where I had to figure out a safe way to pack the dude's truck up and tell him he was no longer welcome at my house. Like it's one of those things of you finally, since he was my outlet, that gave me the confidence that I needed to like sit here and talk in front of all of you guys, because I would have never done that in 2017 or 2016. Like that's not a thing for me. I do not like talking in front of people. So that's why I'm also like super scatterbrained. But I just want you guys to not like, yes, we're talking about money, but the only reason why we're talking about that is because there's potential for every single one of you guys to make those type of paychecks, to make that 30,000. I mean, there's so much growth that is attainable in this business. And until you start to see where you started to where you're at now, which is something that I do recommend doing the AIM program and doing the timeline, because it wasn't until I did that timeline that I'm like, wow, there's 100% growth in here. Like it's insane of when you actually take a step back and you do those exercises of actually how much you are growing in this business. You may not feel it now, but if you take a step back, do the timeline, and just be consistent over it. Let nature take its course, let time take its course, focus on being the best title that you are right now. That way you're not trying to rush a promotion. That way you're not accidentally promoting. That way you know what you need to have every single month. You're not scrounging at the last minute of, oh well, I've got to hit numbers. So I definitely think the whole 5th, the 1st, and the 15th, I think that's a awesome idea for the numbers, because like I said myself, I was not a numbers person with this business. Like I checked my numbers, like actually focusing on my numbers maybe twice in the month, because I didn't want to hyper focus on numbers, because I've had previous experiences where people are hyper focused on numbers and it didn't get them anywhere. Like it didn't help them at all. So that's something that I recommend. I know Queenie did the like weather forecasting of her numbers, and if it works for you, then it works for you. That's totally fine. I'm not saying don't do that. We always say in this business that if you find something that works for you, keep doing it as long as it's income producing and you're also seeing success from it. If it's not working, then change your habits. I know for me, GoodNotes 5 has actually become a huge part of my daily system, when it comes to planning, to keeping my teamies and my active people or my frontline people in a folder. So that way I know, I have like my info sheets on each of my frontline. And that's something that I recently started because I needed to find something that was not pen and paper, because I didn't like having the huge happy planner that I had to tote around all the time. If I ended up having a conversation with a teamie, I want to make sure that if I needed to jot a note down, I could do that within GoodNotes. And so with the GoodNotes, I have it connected to my iPad, I have it connected to my Mac, and then as well as my phone. So that way, once I put it in my iPad, I can walk out of the room, and if I needed to pull it up on my phone, I can pull it up on my phone and it's right there. So it automatically syncs to every device, and it's something that I can have everywhere. And I've got the planner in there. Like it's just something that I'm able to keep track of. That system for me has started to work.
All right, Courtney, can everyone make sure that you guys are muted?
Oh, sorry. Let me, but yeah, so that's basically it, for me. I don't know if anybody else has anything to say or questions.
Yeah, if you have questions, let us know. One thing that I also wanted to say in here was, I just like Chastity has her Shine Your Light, and then she has her leaders page. I also have that. I had started that, but there's a lot of information that is out there, and I kind of built my own in the albums section. Courtney, Chastity has like files on her team page, and that's my goal, is to one day be awesome like that. But for right now, I'm just gonna have to settle with my little rinky-dink albums. But in there I have reporting, so we're talking about the 1st, the 15th, making sure you have your PRV. There's such things that are called, I'm trying to find it real quick. There's actually forms for, they're called GWV averages for each title. And if you don't have these, this right here is how I really like kicked my ass in gear, because for example, it has, I know you guys aren't going to be able to see this and it's probably going to be really crappy, but it's the daily GWV average for a lead consultant, and you probably can't see it. There we go. But on here, this is in the leaders page. If you guys need me to share this again, I'll go ahead and share it. It's exactly how much PRV to have a day. So that way you hit your, you get paid at title. But at the bottom, it'll also say, make sure you have one active frontline. And then, this is what your goals are. So little things like that, I would panic and I would be like, oh my gosh, to be paid at director, I'm supposed to have like, my average is supposed to be, my GWV, we're supposed to be at 5,678 and we're only at 3,000. Like I would, and that's where you get into, talking to your teams and everything. But we have, those forms are out, coaching forms are out, hostess coaching, one-on-one, paid at title worksheets, reporting one-on-one. Chastity just did a whole month of, reporting little things that you should already know, and if you don't know, it was like a great way of being like, oh, this is a refresher, or hey, you remember this. Vanessa hit director, and Vanessa has been getting in contact with me like, hey, I want to look at this, and how do I save this report, and I want to look at, so, and there was a whole training that we had did on just reporting right when I had hit director back May 2019. I don't know when I hit it, 2019, 2020. But the answers are out there. I know we don't have to like force everything down your throat, because you're only going to take everything in that you're willing to take in at a moment. When I had first started, I had said I wasn't ready to train anybody because I didn't have time for it. I felt like I didn't have time for it. And so I kept saying, no, I'm not ready to add anybody. Or I would literally have people being like, so what does it take to, join? And I'm like kicking myself in the ass now, because at first I was just like, oh, well, here's some information. And then I left it. So that's a thing. But the information, I know everybody says, have your own system. If you can't replicate it, and it can't be a simple thing like, hey, I showed you how to do it. You know where all the information is. Now you go and you go and be awesome. We don't want to build, what is it, Chastity? What do you say all the time? We don't want to build
leaders, not leeches.
Leeches, yeah. We want to build leaders, not leeches.
Not leeches. Teach them where to find the information. Don't give them the answer. Teach them how to find it, because if not, they're going to leech onto you and suck out all your energy forever and ever. Amen. Because if you do it for one, everybody else is going to expect you to do it.
Mm-hmm. And that comes to the basic chain of command. Like that's in my whole, hey, you got a new teamie, this is what you need to do. Explain that chain of command. Do not ask me how many ounces is in the laundry. Do not ask me that, because that information is on your PWS. Go find it yourself. I'm one of those people where I will just read a question and I'm just like, poor little Tink Tink. Let me see if she'll get the information. And if she don't answer me within an hour, then I'm going to say, hey, did you check your PWS? So, and that's not me being mean, but that's really me like, hey, I'm a single mom. My kids have activities. I work full time. This is no joke. I can't sit here and do this. Like it's really simple, but I don't want to sit down here. I don't want y'all to feel like I'm yelling at y'all, but these little sheets are out there. If anybody needs them, please let me know. Questions anybody have? I'm checking the chat. I haven't checked in a minute. I'm trying to promote this month. My new team is a little over 300 from hitting certified. Oh, that's awesome. Ashley, you've come out, you've been a rock star since you've joined, and you're building your team. So shout out to you. And I see you in here being active. But Courtney, Chastity, anything else y'all want to say? Add?
I think we covered it, unless anybody has any questions.
You guys are awesome. Thank y'all for putting this together.
All right, that compensation plan is even in every book that you get, is in our catalog. There's so much information that's on your workstation. If there's anything that you guys need help with, or how to locate something, you can't find it, let us know. I have a whole bunch of stuff on my team pages. So if you can't find them, and I believe they're all still updated. So any questions, just message. You can add me. Feel free to add me on Facebook. I do answer my Facebook messages when I get a chance, y'all. So if it says I read it, it might be my kid who's like, you got games on your phone. So I will eventually go back and check it though.
All right, guys, I'm gonna stop the recording.